if you recall, before lunch break, we were reviewing the end-to-end processes together with a demo of how to retire an asset. There are two ways: when the asset is retired with revenue for the organization and when the asset is retired without revenue. The process is almost the same, except for the asset retirement itself, where the T codes, although they are similar, in when the process is with revenue, you need to insert the sale price, and also you need to update the sales order with the price, as the sales order is the document that is used as contract with the customer. And yeah, without more delays, let's go and review the polling questions. This time let me share. This form behaved a little bit strange, as I have 49 answers, and also it is every question has an extra answer called others, which is not originally. So, well, it doesn't defeat the purpose of checking and exchanging the knowledge. So I'm going to ignore the others answers, as it was not an option for the question. So let's go with the first one. Which one is a method of retirement with revenue? So some of them said write-off, others donation, but most of you answered properly. It's sale out of the 4. The sale is the method of retirement with revenue. So knowing this, you know that you need to check in the job aid of retirement of assets, the chapter that is with revenue, as here. And follow the process. Then the next one, it's about the equipment. The equipment status shall be updated. Okay, this is a true or false. The equipment status shall be updated with different status based on the disposal method. And then most of you answered true. A couple of you answered false. And the answer is true. There are 4 equipment status that relate to different disposal methods. One of them is EQDE, meaning write-off scrapping, EQNF, write-off not found, EQDN, write-off donate, and EQSL, write-off and sale. And this information as well is in the job aid somewhere around. Okay, I think it's here. You see? So you don't need to remember the polling questions. It's everything in the job aid. The important point here is that the equipment status and the equipment and every asset besides an asset number has an equipment number. The equipment status needs to be updated. There are different status according to the disposal method. And the idea is that we need to, let's say, mark the status of the equipment so that no one else can perform any other actions with this piece of equipment that has been identified and approved for write-off. So also related with the question 2 comes the question 3. One example of equipment status not relevant for retirement is, very good, equipment assigned. If we see an equipment has been assigned, either we need to change the status of the equipment or we are looking for the wrong equipment. The others are relevant for write-off. And then question 4, when the retirement of asset is with revenue, the value of the sale is to be posted in the sales order triggered from the notification. Okay, we have some, I don't know, yeah, some answered true, some others answered false, and the right question is true. Okay, we said that the price that it's called consideration, the price that is the sale price to the customer needs to be posted in 2 different places in Umoja. One place is the sales order that will be generated from the notification, and while I'm speaking, I will log in. One is the price that we will post in the sales order, and the sales order is created from the notification, and this is the price that it's marked in the sales and distribution module in Umoja. And the other place where we are posting the price is in the asset accounting module in Umoja, and it's in the T code where we are going to retire the asset. So since it's 2 different modules in Umoja, we need to mark the price in these 2 different T codes. And let me see the next question. Let me show you, because you are not going to see it in the exercise. Unfortunately, it's not working in the training environment. So let me show you. We take any given notification. Okay, here is not. This one is not good as an example, but yeah, in other notifications you will have sales order assigned to it. So this sales order is triggered from the notification for write-off, and you will insert the price. Okay. Also, you will insert it in the T code for asset retirement with revenue, which is abound, and we have seen it earlier today. And then the 5th question is a true or false question, and it says the following. When retiring an asset, the asset accountant needs to calculate manually the depreciated value of the asset at the time of its retirement. Again, here there are more answers than persons, so let's review the correct answer. The answer is false. The asset accountant doesn't have to manually calculate offline and input the value of the asset at the time of its retirement. If you remember, both T codes, ABA-ON and ABA-VN, will simulate the depreciated value, and it's just the asset account needs to post it. So there is no need for manual calculation. So it minimizes the errors. These were the polling questions. I'm not sure if there are, please, if you have any comment, feel free to unmute yourself. To intervene.
Yeah, nothing in the chat, Elena. I see no one has spoken up either on the results. We can, at this point, we've already done the polling of this. I don't want to jump into BI directly yet. If there's a way we can have some questions on the morning session, anything that may not be clear. And if anything, before we do jump into BI, if there are no questions or comments, Elena, maybe just a quick display of the cover pages of both the exercises, just so that they understand what is expected of them in each one. the transactions that they have to perform, the environment, just so that they know exactly what to do when they want to perform the exercises?
Yes, let me open the SharePoint. You're going to receive 2 exercises, one per example or one per method. And the notification part is not included in your exercise. It's just, let me show you what you're going to see. Okay, let me share. This is one of the exercises, and you will see this note. Your exercise skips the notification and starts in the next chapter, which is called Run Equipment Asset Report. So the next chapter, your exercise starts here, Run Equipment Asset Report. Why? Because if we want to link the notifications with a task for asset retirement, it means that we will need to create many. We understand that you have been working with notifications enough in the past week, so there was nothing really new to show you. This is just for, we are keeping this part for your info in case you need it further when you have been deployed. But for the sake of practicing the retirement of fixed asset, you are not going to need to mark the task as completed and to insert the FI document in the text box, etc. So this is already done during last week. You will have to start from here onwards. It's basically 3 steps, and the same for the exercise of retiring an asset with revenue. Let me go back. This will be the 3, basically the 3 T codes you need to work on. This T code, in order to check the status of the equipment, also relates the asset number to the equipment number and to the notification. This in order to perform the retirement, and this to double check in the asset that the asset has been deactivated. It will be only missing IW59, IW52, which is to update the notification prior and after the retirement of the asset. This is it. I think it's a quite straightforward exercise. Here I have another asset which has been retired longer ago, in case you want to see how the system is calculating the depreciation. Do you want to? But basically, this is what we saw: is monthly, depending on the useful life of the equipment, is going to extract some value as depreciation. This is it from my side. I see you quiet.
All right, Elena. Thank you. Yeah, and there is no comments in the chat, and no one is speaking up. Thank you for the review of the exercise. We'll be sharing the credentials and the cover pages in the afternoon, in the email in the afternoon, unless we have a little bit of time maybe today to go through them as well. But I think maybe now, maybe we can jump into BI for a little bit and show some reports that we think will be important for you to run and understand how to run them and understand the data that they provide to you, very related to the retirement of fixed assets, as well as write-off, equipment statuses. Some of them we've already seen. I believe maybe all of them, if not maybe 1 or 2 that are new. So at this point, Elena, unless there's something else somebody would like to ask, we can probably move on to BI, and I'll ask Daniel to jump in and share his screen, unless, Daniel, you want me to do it. In the meantime, I've been running that report that we were talking about, and it's running fine. It takes a bit long, but I have it on my screen already.
Okay.
Thank you, Elena.
Okay, Brian, hello. Thank you.
Hey, Daniel.
You hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, good. If something happens, I can just remove my headset, and like the other day.
So far,
So
so good.
thank you very much for still being there, day 10. It's not been an easy journey. Thanks for staying up until right the end, and especially for this small session on BI. It's intended to be kind of some sort of like a recap summary of what we have gone through. So I will share my screen and right away show you a little bit of what's I would say what would be the minimum understanding from the analysis workspaces that you should carry with you in case that you are deployed while using BI. So just remember that the folder that we are going to access as a BI 55, it's the property management folder in production. Okay, there we have plenty of reports, each one covering different aspects of the property management lifecycle. But for most, we do want to underline the fact that we have a bunch of analysis workspaces only dedicated to several, let's say, concepts or covering a particular concept within this life cycle of equipment or Umoja modules. The first one will be the AWS analysis workspace for equipment. Another one will be the analysis workspace for inventory. And the third one, the write-off and disposal, okay? The other two, the equipment in transit and inventory history, are subsets of the previous two. So inventory in transit will be a subset of the data that we have in the equipment. So we can just launch anyways the first one. And the inventory history will be a subset of the inventory analysis workspace. So if we do know how to maneuver and let's say use these A3 analysis workspaces, will be up to speed in order to do a little bit of analysis. While I think that someone is unmuted, just in case. Could you please, Brian, check, because it's a bit annoying. So those are the three main AWS that we will go through today. So what I did, it's just and I did take some screenshots for your reference, because sometimes the BI do not or does not perform very well. It takes a while, so I did take several screenshots based on the analysis. So the first one is the AWS for equipment, and there you can see that first of all, you can do an analysis of the equipment itself by statuses, system and user. Okay, there in the screenshot you can see the screenshot of the report itself, which are the measures that I used in red. Okay, 2 columns in terms of measures, number of pieces of equipment and acquisition value in US dollars. Rows 2, so I drag and drop through 2 attributes from the left panel, the system status and the user status. So the idea here is to mix both statuses and see whether the system and the user status will make sense based on the different sessions that we have gone through these 2 weeks, and identifying which of the combinations would not make sense or would be important for us to take a look at it. And taking a look at it will be to basically isolate this combination that we want to analyze, and then start drilling in with equipment numbers, storage locations, user accountable, and see why the system and the user status do not make sense, right? So let me go back to production and see whether I have my tab over there. Let's see, is this one, I believe, or the second one. Okay, so here you can see the same AWS for equipment. What I did is I created, as you can see here in the cursor on the right button part of the screen, here I can navigate from one tab to another. I created several tabs doing several analyses, okay? Here in the first one, when I click on both statuses, I will be going to the first tab, and there you can see the two columns with the system and the user status with the information on the right panel. So let me minimize this part so it will be easier to understand. So in the background, as you can see, there are some other aspects that I'm taking on account while I'm reading this report, but I don't want them to be present in the layout itself, right? Because as we agreed during these 2 weeks, when you are using BI, it's important to, let's say, start little in a way that, you just manage 2-3 columns in terms of measures, 2-3 columns in terms of rows, and from there you start to dig in, right? On the contrary, if you start with plenty of rows and plenty of measures, you get a little bit overwhelmed with so much information. So what I did basically is to put in the rows the system and the user, and in the background some other important attributes, but they are not present within the different rows in my report, although they are well taken in account in the usage of this data, meaning that in business area and reporting entity, I have one member, which is UNAMID. Okay, it's there. The function location there, it's inside. I didn't filter by any function location, but it's over there. In case that I need to filter, I can always do it from the background. The logical status, that's another attribute that will go afterwards, and then the business area, which is UNAMID. So in 2-3 clicks, the idea is here to identify this combination of system and user statuses and see whether it does make sense, right? So we will get back to this one, but it was an easy one, and I do want you, if you have time during these 2 weeks, and it's not a homework per se, and it's not a part of the assessment, but as you have here in the screenshots, the different elements that I have used in order to create this report, I invite you to do the same while you have access or full access to the tool. Okay, so here you see what I used and what I dragged in order to get this report. This is by statuses, system and user. I will get back to that later. Okay, the same I did with the authorization group. This is an easy one, right? Authorization group is the second tab. Basically, it's the same amount of data in terms of number of pieces of equipment in UNAMID and its acquisition value by authorization group, if that's the case. Remember that the authorization group will, let's say, guide who has access to the equipment master record in terms of SD11, right? So basically, if we could say that the different authorization groups will be intended to simulate the different units in the mission, more or less, roughly, right? So that's why you see facilities management, that's why you see plenty of equipment under ICT, medical services, support services in general, or transport services, right? So in case that you want to start your analysis by authorization group, here, that will be, let's say, the shell of the report from where you start digging in. Another way to start your analysis will be through assets, for example, equipments that are assets. So I go to the other tab, and here, what I would do is I will drag into my layout the class description, asset class description. So in this visual, I will see the different classes based on the Ipsos policy of all the number of pieces of equipment and the acquisition value. You see here an iPhone, or let's say a not applicable, the first row over here with a plenty of number of pieces of equipment, 59,000. That would mean that this row will affect equipment not being fixed assets, right? So if you really want to take them out, you will select that row, right click, and you can take it out from your analysis, and then only focus your analysis on the equipments which are fixed assets. So I will remove that one, and then eventually I will have only, let's say, 13 rows. Each one of the rows will be the asset class description from where I would start my analysis, right? That's just remember that I did filter by measures, right? In all the different tabs over here, I have in measures the pieces of equipment and the acquisition value. But if I go to measures and I double click, I can see that not only those two, but I have plenty of other columns all in numbers with different parts of information that may be interesting for me to take in, right? But for sake of being consistent in the different tabs, and in case that I share this report with you guys, all these different tabs will have as a measure number of pieces of equipment and then the acquisition value. And from there, you can let's say interpret this report as some sort of template for equipment that you can use while you are deployed or while you do the exercises or while you start using this tool. Okay. Another important aspect, it's the extract, and this I am going to spend a little bit of time with this because initially here I have plenty of rows, and the report you can see that has 72,000 plus rows. So now we're talking about a huge report. Okay, this report would consist in some sort of what I understood. It's if I'm deployed, I try to be empathetic with you and understand that if I'm deployed to UNAMID, and eventually we'll have to do an analysis and write-off on the statuses of the equipment in order to clean up data. Eventually, I will have to have some sort of a report that will tell me the equipment number, whether that equipment is a fixed asset or not, which are their system and the user status, and who is the user accountable, let's say, for this piece of equipment. But and that's exactly what I did when I dragged and drop into the rows: user accountable, the first attribute, system status, user status, asset number, and equipment number. Remember that this equipment number is the number that you will find in the equipment master data shell. So the same, you have two measures, the acquisition value, and what I put here is equipment operational depreciation in case that those assets were, that there was some sort of depreciation in terms of operational. But at the end of the day, it's difficult to go through all these 72,000 lines. So what I did is I extracted this report, only this one, extract. I clicked on this option, Excel. Only select the extract tab because you see that we have plenty of others, right? I only ticked in one and I clicked in OK. Okay, I'm not going to do it in case that it crashes the system because as you can imagine, we're asking a lot to the system to extract and pull it in Excel. Trust me, it works. because I think I have my, no, it's not over here. Sorry for that. So student, it's around, here we go. So you can see the large amount of data that we are going to work with. You see, it's a huge report. But what I did, it's initially to start, and let me zoom in a little bit so you see what's there. Okay, I created a table, right? So in the initial extract, I created a table with all the different columns. Basically, when you create a table, you click on Control-T in your keyboard, and then the system will understand which is the range of data. I can do it later in case that you don't know how to do it. And then automatically you have a pre-formatted, powerful and useful set of data in a table view. So I will have in the first row here, who is the equipment user accountable, system status, user status, the asset number. In this case, it's not a number, but it's the description, let's say, of the asset with the number. So it's the number itself. Let me just put it bigger. You see the number 310007535 with the description, the serial number of that equipment, and two values over there. All right. So the good thing is just you have a pre-formatted filtered already embedded within this table. So if I don't see equipment user accountable, that will tell me that in the asset master, in the equipment master record, there is no user accountable for this piece of equipment. So it will be worth to take a look at why I have all these not applicable over there, right? But as I told you, there is a filter that you can use and identify staff members or VPs from where you can take different pieces of equipment. So as I told you before, this Excel is intended to, you can carry this file with you, and then based on the situation on the ground and the information that you may need, you may want to filter by one of these options, right? In case that, for example, right, there is a particular situation with this PP number, okay? I put that filter, I see that he or she is accountable of 2 pieces of equipment which are installed, assigned to him or to her, and this is the serial number and the information on the operational depreciation. So basically you're exporting all data from equipment into an Excel that maybe become handy at some point when you are deployed, or in order to understand the different how, let's say, the mapping of all the equipments in the mission is at the moment. So at the end of the day, everything comes from this tab, extract. Okay, so
And Daniel,
yes, Brian.
Sorry to interrupt you there. Since you're talking about the BI and the Excels, and you also mentioned the background field, I know this is something we may have discussed, but just to let everyone know and refresh their memory, is the data in the background also reflected in the Excel, or only what we see in this screen is what we're going to have in our Excel when we extract it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for the question. Yes, it's basically, as a rule of thumb, in BI in general, it's what you see is what you get. So if you see this table, right, this one that I'm here identifying over here with the cursor, that's what will be extracted eventually, which let me see, it's over here, window over here. It will be this, but with a table already pre-formatted, right? The background information, it's already taken in account in order to show all this data, right? So for example, if I'm going to, let's say business area description, if I want to filter by logical status, right, and I will go back to that, okay, in the background, I can double click, see what the system offers me in terms of logical status. But eventually, if I go back to my Excel, if I go back to my Excel is already static and will not be, let's see, the filter that I'm doing in the system will not be applicable to this extract. Okay, so here I have different, let's say, selections that I can do. I can select only the pieces of equipment in disposal, in maintenance, in a stock. So I can do a further analysis, or I can drill down within these statuses, right? And then I can do it right now in case, hopefully will not take time, but if it does, P. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at the deactivated ones, okay? So eventually I can get the data and extract again into Excel. That's why I really wanted you guys to understand that the first extract, it's a very high level extract that you can always use in order to understand the initial situation. But the background information that you can see over here is taken into account on these numbers, right? And the results itself in the appearing, but it will not, let's see, be appearing over here in the different columns. You don't see equipment business area over here. You don't see reporting entity, functional location, but if needed, you can filter here. So you can filter in the background and it's taken into account in order to show these numbers. So you can see that there is a yellow funnel with the equipment logical status. What I did here, it's to filter by objects deactivated. So I can understand that the set of data that I have here on my screen over here, it's already 14,000 pieces of equipment. Some of them are assets, some of them aren't. And I have the equipment numbers over here with the acquisition value and operational depreciation. Sorry. There, I did resize without realizing. So, whoa. Let me see if I can just do it. Zoom and put it 100%. Sorry for that.
No problem. It's strange that it does that, but
but as you can see, it's this extract, what I call extract, it's handy to maybe, because it has a lot of rows to use it rather in Excel than in BI, right? And let's see, and then I want to show a couple of other tabs, which are information on the system status and user status. So I will have a report with all the equipments in UNAMID with the breakdown of the different system statuses. Remember that in the job aid, here this is the job aid for the equipment. In one of the pages, let me see if I find it right away. There is a breakdown in a table with all the system or possible system statuses that are applicable here in the report. Here we go, equipment system statuses here. Let's see if I can just put it bigger. Okay, so sometimes you have one single, some other times you have two, right? Which are one and the one that it's subsequent. So first, for example, in this system status code, the second one, ASAQ, esto, it was allocated to a superior equipment and then it went to the warehouse, okay? So these are different system status codes that you can double check and compare with your report over here, right? In case that you do see, for example, that's an one, let's say, analysis that you could drive. You see some system statuses or combination of system statuses here, which are not over here in this table. You may wonder why, and why, for example, it's I don't know, it was this, but all of them, these ones make sense because you can have different statuses like in the warehouse and then deleted, right? Because it was initially in the warehouse and then the equipment was deleted, 194 units. It was initially in the warehouse, this one, and then it was inactivated for some reason. Okay, you have plenty of them installed, plenty of them available, and then inactive. Okay, so just let's say entry point, if I may say, in order to do or start your analysis, that will be with only the system statuses. The same will apply with the user status. And remember that the user status is the one that it's manually changed by the SD11. You saw during all these 2 weeks that the user status it's manually changed, and depending on the situation on the ground, you change things as the SD11. If you do not do it, then that user status will not be updated, and then those reports, the reports that you're going to pull out from the system, will not make sense, right? So these are the breakdown of different user statuses that you have in UNAMID as at today, okay? And from there, again, you can drill down and see, okay, let me check only the ones in transit and see whether they're really in transit or not. Because as I said, most of the mistakes, most of the issues that you may encounter down the road will have an origin in a wrong update or a not update at all in the equipment user status in the data shell. So that's another, let's say, entry point in terms of analysis. And then the last one that I used is by material, which will be, and let me go back to the job, to the Word. So you see all the different tabs are here with the screenshots. So I think this is a good, let's say, reference for you to replicate in the future. So as long as you use these measures and you use these rows, you would see the same information probably with different numbers, because as we already discussed, BI, it's real data. And it's updated every 24 hours, right? The same for extract, you see the different attributes that I've used, and the Excel that eventually you will see, the system status, user status, and then material type here. So let me go back. In material type, here the breakdown, it's used by the whether though the material, the equipment, it's an asset, it's a spare part, it's medical supply, it's raw materials, depending on the material type of master that was used in the product ID initially, right? So you have different breakdowns, different ways to start your analysis from the equipment perspective, let's say. And this is not only the only ones that are, we can come up with. I mean, if you start using, you can use some other tabs, some other attributes in the left panel. Remember that it's over here. If you click on the cube, you have all the options available in this cube of data that you can use eventually and do a different type of analysis. Okay. Let me go back to the extract and show you how it works, this export, in case that it was not clear last time. So I'm clicking here on this arrow with this kind of like a square box, only the tab extract. You can select some others, but let's just only extract this one. Okay, it takes some time. You open the file. Actually, I was a bit shocked that it didn't take too much time to extract 72,000 lines. And for what I see here, I'm not going to extract 72,000, but only 14,000. Why? You see here in the background, because I did filter only by equipment deactivated over here, right? So this is my Excel. In case this is the background filter, you can delete all that information and only see the header. If you want to create a table, you click in Control T. I click in Control and then the letter T in my keyboard. So Excel understands that I want to create a table out of all the data and prevents me to whether that table has a headers or not. And I can say yes, okay, and I can tick yes, my table has headers. So this is the first line, the first row are the headers. So if I click in OK, you see automatically have my here we go. I didn't click over here. Okay, let me just first save it, and then I will click, because it's better to save and then work with Excel rather than work directly. So let me save it. Read white in H in documents. This one. Let me see. AW extract. Excuse me. AWS extract, save. I can close this one, and then I'm gonna go back to the Excel AWS extract. And from there, what I can do, it's all the headers, I can just copy in these filters over here, right? But in any case, the table is created already, and you can just work out with all the data there present in your report. Remember that you have, if I select here, over 72,000 lines that you can work with, and especially for BPs, right? For people. And as you can see that initially I filtered in my report by equipment logical status deactivated. So I only see here the pieces of equipment deactivated. You see, that's why you see the equipment user, the system status ADAER, and this is the list of 14,000 pieces of equipment deactivated over here. Okay. So quite handy, this extract, especially if you're, like making a big type of report. So you want to export to Excel and then start your analysis in Excel. So you can do this analysis with all these different tabs in, let's say, 30 minutes. If you have a good bandwidth and you basically are going to copy and paste the different rows that you can see in the Word document that I'm going to share with you later on, you're good to go to display all these reports in terms of pieces of equipment. And remember that this is only the first one. This is and going back to the folder, this is the AWS for equipment I saved already. So you work things out with the different attributes, but remember always to save your reports. And remember always as well to, let me go to the prompt. Make sure that you have here this option already ticked, save prompt values and workspace. Very important, because otherwise the whole prompt will not be imported into this data, and you have to redo it again. So click on these save prompt values, and then once you are okay with the report, you can go to the floppy disk over here, select Save As, and you go directly to your documents, and then you can create a folder. In this case, I used mission liquidation there, and you can put a file, a name to the file, and just save it over there. So this one is really, this AWS, it's really useful, and especially if you are going to work along this with this job 8 with Analysis Workspace for Equipment, which is very long and has plenty of information that you can use and take on account while you're using this one. Last for equipment, in case that we don't have any questions, it's this concept of logical status, because we don't see this logical status in the equipment master data shell. This is not a master data element that we can find in the equipment master record, right? But it's, let's say, an attribute that our colleagues, our BI developers created in order to indicate a summarized status of the equipment. So in order to understand particular logical status, the system is going to take into account the user status as of the report date, the user status that it's in the equipment master record, as well as the current stock type of goods movement on the date when the user actually is running the report. And this information, this stock type of goods movement, it's obtained from the stock segment in the system. So based on this combination of user and stock type, let's say, elements, you can give a particular status to a piece of equipment, and you can the system will give status in disposal if the user status as a report date is one of these, and there is a particular stock segment in place. The same will apply for write-off, not found, in maintenance, in stock, blocked stock, in transit, and in use. So this attribute will be only visible, here we go, logical status, in BI. You will not see this logical status in ECC. This is just a way, let's say, an attribute that is there, is present for you in the report, for you to be used in case that you want to break it down by all these different logical status. At the end of the day, what's going to happen? This has a huge dependency on how the user status is updated. So eventually, if the user status of the equipment is not properly updated, eventually this logical status, as well as some other reports, will do not take on account the real situation on the ground, because, as I said, the user status is manually changed and depends on the SD11, let's say, work. So that's a good one. This current logical status is a very good one, and you have some other types of, let's say, attributes that our colleagues in Valencia, the BI developers, created for you in order to understand how the map it's done in terms of equipment in UNAMID, for example, as a mission, right? That you will eventually be deployed. And you can use the same actually report to some other mission, and it's as easy as going to the prompt, and instead of selecting business area UNAMID, let me see, you will select there, for example, MONUSCO in text, probably, yes. So it changes, right? P015, let's see if it changes. Reporting entity, let me put MONUSCO as well. And I'm getting rid of UNAMID. I don't know whether P15, let me just double check whether P15 is MONUSCO or UNAMID. Okay. So the good thing about creating some sort of a template in terms of report that you think that it's useful and you can apply across the board to any of the business areas and reporting entities that you want. So this report with this data and this layer will be applicable for Unamid, for MONUSCO, for Brindisi Valencia. So, it's quite handy. So you always go back to the prompt and select the business area and reporting entity that you consider. This is it was kind of like a 30 minutes speech on this equipment, on an easy workspace on equipment, but trust me, this is one of the best reports that you can find currently in this folder. So that's all for myself in terms of AWS for equipment. In case that we have any comments or questions, I may afterwards move on to the inventory AWS. Over to you, Brian.
Hi, Daniel. Not officially here in the chat, but on a separate chat, also reference again to the statuses, right? The multiple statuses of the equipment, and how can that be correct? In many of the cases, I know this is something we discussed the first time we saw this report. You also reached out to the reporting team in Valencia. The job aid that we're looking at now, what you're showing now exactly, does show that the system statuses can have duplicates, and even at some point even 3 different statuses. But now,
yep.
I think there's an understanding about what we see and what the system accepts and what the reports keep track of, and what should be correct, maybe transaction-wise. So I don't know if this is something that you can explain more after your conversation with them, or if somebody else can come in. The BI reports will show you double statuses for the equipment, and it's correct in a sense, right? These duplications, correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel, the ones we see now on screen should be the ones that are acceptable, let's say. System statuses that appear dubbed, like this one.
Yes, acceptable in a way that it will make sense from the business and the system point of view, right? So basically, the BI reports will only drag the information from the equipment master record. So if the equipment, if you see 2 statuses in BI report, it's because this particular piece of equipment has 2 statuses from the system point of view in its equipment master, in the shell, right, of data. So, but eventually, what this like double or triple system status code will mean is a bit of the sequence of events that at some point was applicable to this particular piece of equipment. So initially, it was available. Then it was has some sort of a deletion flag. I think that the DLFL, it's a deletion flag, and eventually it was inactive. So it's a combination, some sort of like a log of events from the system status code that it's present eventually. And remember that when we wrote off the tablet in day 7, we did all together. Eventually, when we deactivated our piece of equipment, it had 2 system statuses, right? So it's perfectly fine to have 2 system statuses. But the question here is which 2 system statuses will work and would not make sense. So that's let's see your work eventually to understand whether it's because I think Claudia at some point last week, he mentioned that if you do particular things, if you're not doing a reservation, if you are not doing some transactions properly into the system, although the system will absorb those transactions and will have an impact in terms of system statuses, that will be absolutely present in the report as well. So
sorry, Brian. Sorry, Daniel.
Yes, Claudio.
Let's say that you correctly say that from a system perspective, the report is correct and shows what exactly is reported in the equipment record. For example, if you go back to the previous slide, to the previous double, okay, the ASEC, the second system status, the ASEC ESTO, allocated to superior equipment in warehouse. Okay, as we know, when we refer to the superior equipment, we refer to something that is in use. So basically, this equipment was assigned to superior equipment at the time that was issued. Now, what happened to this equipment, and probably you can find out in the equipment record, this equipment was returned to stock without doing the dismantling of the equipment. And that's why now there is a resulting system status with a double status, one which refers to the assigned to the superior equipment, and the other one which refers to an equipment which is in warehouse. From a logical point of view, if an item is in the store, is in inventory, is in warehouse, cannot be assigned to superior equipment. Same thing for the available ESTO. While the first one, the asset ESTO, referred to a return, the available ESTO referred to an issuance, meaning that whoever was the operator in issuing the equipment did not finalize the complete release of equipment to be changed into installed. Okay? So while in the first example, there is a functional location which still in the equipment record, in the second one, available ESTO, there are not information related probably to functional location or to business partner. So while these are in the system, this equipment record requires a corrective action to properly refer to the correct system status.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. So we taking for granted that from a system perspective, this is what BI report. Doesn't mean that these status are correct.
Okay, so if I may, Claude, thank you very much for those insights. I think they were very useful and very practical. Eventually, that's what we need, practical scenarios. So, would be good to have some sort of like a cheat sheet eventually before you guys are deployed with some tips with user or system statuses that will be worth taking a look once you guys are deployed, so you can just track those combination of systems and user statuses in BI or in ECC. So, because if we all know what's wrong in terms of combination of user and system statuses, or what's wrong in terms of 2 or 3 system statuses, if we know that beforehand, that will give us, let's say, some sort of like a roadmap of the equipment that is worth to investigate once we are on the ground, right? So I think it will be a good idea. It could be even, coming from the policymakers or the guidelines, whoever is in charge of this in terms of policy, to see, which statuses are wrong or are worth to take a look in these reports. Yeah.
Well, I believe that New York distributed a time ago during Pyro exercise a very great and good cheat sheet, or let's say the document for troubleshooting any kind of issues that we can face in doing analysis of inventory. I think this is a very good document because it shows basically what needs to be done to take corrective action on different system error statuses, pending POs, pending transaction, closing transactions, how to perform this kind of operation. So I think this is a very good document, which could be applicable also to liquidation in terms of pre-analysis of and pre-action.
I think I have that document and I can share it as well. I don't know how much it focuses on the statuses that we're talking about, but it does talk about the typical PIRO issues that you dealt with that are going to be the same ones everyone's going to deal with in liquidation, for sure.
Thanks, Claudio. Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. I mean, the more that we carry on with us when we are there working, I mean, the better. And PIRO was an excellent exercise to understand how the inventory was let's see, or the status of the inventory in general terms from the mission's point of view, and how it could be optimized. Eventually, when we are going to liquidate the mission, although the mission is going to be closed, we are basically we're cleaning up. It's a cleaning up exercise, or the final cleanup exercise. So that's why these PIRO lessons learned are good to have on board, or to be on, to take those on account when we're going to liquidate the mission. So yeah, in case that you have it, Brian, it would be great, and then we can just double check with Amarin as well, as he was the head of the project at some point, whether he's got even more documentation that will be useful to have for you.
Yeah, Daniel, actually, I just found it, so I'm going to share this right now. I think it's a 7-page document
Good.
Piro activity guidelines. I think that's the one that Angelo was making reference to. And it has to do with review of storage locations, beginning with 9, transactions not being closed, POs, differences in storage types, materials being stocked, blocked, things like that. So yeah, I'll share this right now in the chat.
Okay, good. And because it's only 20 minutes before the lecture comes in, I just want to show to you real fast. Equipment per se has a lot of data. That's why it took a bit of time, but it's normal. So let me see if I have. Okay, so what I did for inventory, for the AWS analysis workspace for inventory, it's this one, the third one. Okay, so I think it's inventory analysis. Basically what I did, and you can see here in the different tabs, I broke down all of our inventory by storage location on whether that inventory is unrestricted, in transit, in quantity, or blocked. So you can see in the different tabs by storage location what's the analysis: material type, the description, and the plot ID, unrestricted stock. If I go to the transit tab, see, maybe I was too much time talking and less time on the system, and I was kicked out at some point. Oh, I have my screenshots, so just bear with me. So AWS for inventory. So this is what you may find, which is storage location, material type, the description, and the PID. In this case, for unrestricted stock, you will have the same attributes, which are these ones, okay? In all tabs, the only change is the selection of the measures, which is this filter over here, these two columns at the end, right? Whether I want to filter by unrestricted, inventory in transit, inventory in quality, inventory blocked. So in 2 minutes, you can just come up with a report with different, let's say, statuses of your inventory. Sorry, it's not working now, but it was present before. So I may want to relaunch it again. So
I'm launching it from my side too. Okay, Daniel, just in case.
Okay. Here we go. As you launch it, and when it's ready, you can share the screen. But in the meantime, I'm going to share some findings for the write-off. Remember that we were not so lucky last time with the BI reports on write-off and disposal. Mm-hmm. What I did, it's basically...
if you want to, it already works for me. It's okay. For you to know. Good. Yeah, the AWS inventory is working, the one you sent me in the inbox.
So take over if you want on your screen.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so,
thanks.
Just because I know, well, it works, let's use it, right?
Yeah.
So here it is. This is it, correct? Inventory analysis.
Mm-hmm.
All
exactly.
Right, sure. Yeah. So I just went here and opened yours here, the one you sent me today. All right.
Okay. So yeah, that's a good thing about sharing the reports to different different users. So you can actually share the information and with the same layout that you created. So as I was saying here, the first tab is for unrestricted stock. So by storage location and material type, even with the PID, you have information on quantity and the value. Okay, if you go to the following tab, in transit, you will see the same, let's say, structure of report, but with different measures. Instead of unrestricted, we'll have in transit in terms of quantity and value. Okay, as you can see, we have here 536 rows. We don't have such as many items in terms of unrestricted stock, but in transit, we have less, obviously. And then if we move on to the following tab, will be instead of transit, I think in quality. And the same will be applicable for the blocked ones at the end. Here for one particular storage location, this is the current quantity in stock and the blocked quantity at the end of the day. So exactly, on blocked status over here. So as you see, the same attributes with the same plant. In this case, it's Unamid, right? Plant is in the background, as you can see. But what we're changing in the different tabs is the measures, which are in the first one unrestricted values, second one transit, third quality, and fourth blocked status. So a way to break down your inventory coming from the storage location with different measures. Not so difficult in a way to create these reports, but it's a good starting point in order to do analysis for inventory. If I may just take over, Brian, with the last report on write-off.
Sure
Remember that. Thank you, Brian, for that. You see the write-off and disposal. What I did is I broke it down into two tabs, equipment and fixed assets. So, and here you can see for the part of equipment, and it's important to note this aspect. First, what I put here is the notification number. Remember that if we have a notification for a write-off, PW notification, then the data will be present in BI. If we don't have a notification number, you will never see that write-off case in this report. So first, the notification is dragged in with the number. And then in the background, besides reporting entity and business area, which is always the same, the mission, UNAMID, what I have here is the asset number. And why it's the asset number filtered out? Let me double click so you see. Oh, now it doesn't work. Okay, good. So what I did filter in asset number, it's I just removed the asset number from the data. So whatever does not have an asset number, it's a piece of equipment. So I took out all the asset numbers, and the report it's only showing the equipments and the notifications with no asset number whatsoever. So I may infer that I have 506 notifications corresponding to different equipments in write-off. And as you can see, it's a one-to-one relationship, but it may be one-to-many in terms of one notification for pieces of equipment. Here we have a notification, the 9190. I have one notification for 27 pieces of equipment. It's already completed. Okay. The average time for write-off is 176 days. It took 724 days to get the disposal done. So you have by each of the notifications information on timelines on write-off and then disposal as well. So that's for the equipment. And remember, what I did is I filtered out one member, and I only I filtered out the notifications without asset numbers. But on the contrary, if I go to the following tab, now it's not working. Great. I think I spent too much time with not using the system. So if you can just open up yours, Brian, as well.
This is for the analysis workspace
for
equipment?
Write-off.
Write-off. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. In the meantime, I'm going to launch it again. My documents in day 10. It may take some time. Okay. Remember, because I saved the prompt values initially, it comes already pre-populated with the UNAMID business area and reporting entity UNAMID as well. So basically, let me go back to the screenshots so you see how it looks. AWS write-off and disposal. The first one, notification not being fixed assets, information that you can see. And then the following one, it's the write-off activity for assets. What I did here is to filter in the background only the notifications with an asset number. So we'll have here information on the different notifications with even the asset number description. So how can I read this report? So for this particular asset number and the description, which in this case it will be the write-off of a 4x4 general purpose heavy Nissan Patrol, I have 130 notifications created with 130 pieces of equipment, in this case assets, to be written off. And the average time for this particular type of asset, it's 96 days for the equipment to be completed, 34 are pending, and these are the notifications. 96 are completed, 34 still pending, and the average write-off timeline is 140 days And remember, we're just talking about fixed assets. So you have a breakdown by different asset descriptions, and each of these rows are adding up all the different notifications created for these assets. I don't know, Brian, if you succeeded, but yeah, it takes a little bit of time. So that's a good thing that I put the screenshots. So eventually, the variable that is driving us throughout the write-off and disposal BI reports, it's always the notification number. Obviously, you can just take it out and use some other aspects in terms of notification, but eventually you will have to take a look at what's pending and why a particular piece of equipment is not being written off in X number of days, and that's why you need this reference in order to see what's going on, right? So everything pivots from the write-off and disposal analysis workspace through the notification number, either for an equipment or for a fixed asset. Here, okay, now it was launched. So for write-off, for assets.
Mine is still loading, by the way. Okay, Daniel, just want to let you know.
Okay. Okay, so now remember I click here for notifications for write-off for assets, and then I'm going to finally show you which is the filtering that I applied in the background, which is this one, equipment asset number. All right, so let me double click. And as well, let me just show to you that you do have this AWS, the same job aids that you have for equipment, you have for inventory, and for write-off. I don't know if it is at the end. Exactly this one, a nice workspace for disposal. So the set of data, it's already explained, described in this job aid for this particular job aid. See, basically here you see all the data panel for the measures and for the attributes are thoroughly explained one by one, what each of these attributes means with the different codes and so on. All right, so asset number. So what I clicked here, what I filtered out here, it's the notifications without an asset number. So what I did is I ticked out the not applicable, let's say, case over here, and then I click in OK, and then I only see assets related to notifications, as you can see. Yeah, because we're talking about, well, it's 218 rows. It shouldn't be so much, but it's a way to say to discriminate the assets from the equipment. It will be through this attribute equipment asset number. You see this one, the first one is not ticked, which is the asset number, whether this particular notification has not an asset number, then I'm taking that out of my report, and only the notifications with an asset number are present in my report. That's why I can see, or I may say that these reports are for assets and the other ones are for equipments. So as I said, starting point, again, in order to start your analysis for write-off and disposal. And obviously, if you go to the blue cube on your left, besides the different attributes and combination of elements that I have already shown to you, you can use plenty of some other measures and plenty of some other characteristics and variables to drag and drop. Okay, and in terms, for example, of notification, you have plenty of information as well to discriminate within the notification itself and the notification user status as well. Remember that the SD09, the disposal planner, has a prominent role within the process by changing the notification user status as things are happening outside of the system, like the boards, some decisions, and some decisions made for that particular equipment. He or she will change accordingly that notification status, and eventually, if that is not properly done, that will be reflected in the BI reports as well. So another, let's say, string that we can start pulling, it's this notification user status to see whether those statuses are really compliant with the reality. Okay, so we could speak for more hours and just show to you, more ways to use these reports. But I think that this was, more than enough for today and for the 2 weeks, taking into account that you guys went through all the different processes within the life cycle of a particular equipment, since the goods received up until the disposal part, with all this warehouse inventory and equipment assignment business. So I think it's more than enough, at least, to take with you this word that you can use as a template for you to replicate and see whether you succeeded or not. And then please refer to the presentations that I shared with you during these days on BI, as well as the job aids that are very important for you to download. So that's the perfect referring document that you can always use, and has a lot of information for all these attributes and all these different characteristics within the different reports. There are some other things that we'd love to show to you, like how you schedule reports. But I think with these 3 analysis workspaces, you are good to go in order to start your analysis in terms of from the equipment perspective, from the inventory perspective, and the write-off and disposal perspective in BI. So over to you, Brian.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel, for taking time. I was going to tell you at the same time I was running both the equipment and the write-off reports, and I have them on screen. But I think like you said, we've covered them for enough time, maybe to the point of boredom, maybe not. Let's see if we have any comments. Now's the time to make them. We have 10 minutes before the scheduled entry from the director to make the closing statements of this training. So now would be a good time to discuss maybe some of the reports, how they work. I don't know, anything about what was presented today, maybe even during the week. We could jump into performing the exercises as well, but we're going to have to stop at 3:30 for the closing remarks. So at this point, again, thanks, Claudio, for intervening. I shared in the screen the document that was, let's say, forwarded during Piro activity. I think it's definitely worth a look. Like Claudio said, it's a very good document of the typical issues you will encounter. It's not specifically for liquidation, but those are the ones you will encounter, because that's the type of transactions that are pending and the type of errors that you'll find in the system when you're deployed. Besides that, it's your turn now. I leave the floor open for questions, remarks, comments. And if there is nothing to say, maybe we can use this time to jump on the exercise for today. I can share that in an email as well. But again, in another 7 minutes, we'll be hearing the closing remarks from the director. So I want to make sure we don't take over that time. Anything from you guys?
Nothing here. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Luis. Okay, then I was thinking that write-off or retirement of fixed assets would definitely spur quite a conversation. Yeah, maybe even the reports. I know it's a lot of information. Then if there is nothing on the topics of today in the past week, any other issues you're encountering in the system? I know that the majority of you are sharing emails with us, asking us to provide support. But others of you we haven't heard of. Hopefully that means that you guys have been doing well and you're able to perform these exercises. If there is no questions on that, maybe it's the good time to start talking about the assessment. Again, I leave the floor open to you.
Hi guys,
Yeah.
Sorry, but apart is Monday, but thank you for all the information and all the training that you did, honestly. Okay, you bombarded us. I'm talking only about myself. You bombarded us with a lot of information, and I feel like a little bit this morning, this afternoon, confused. But anyway, it will take time to absorb everything. But thank you again for all the support. Regarding the assessment, how I heard that you postpone it for the 11th, but will be like you give us a time frame, you send us the exercise, and then we send you the results back, something like that. I don't know how you are planning to. There will be some questions, or there is only exercise. Thanks.
Thank you, Gianluca. Very good. Glad to thank you, first of all, for the nice comments. I know it's been a long 2 weeks. We even had to use up an extra day from the third week because of the holiday on Friday. Although I saw a lot of you were working on that day anyway and sending emails on troubleshooting issues. For the exam, the way it's going to work, it's very simple, actually. If you guys have performed the exercises that we have shared with you, that means that one of those exercises that we shared with you will eventually be the one that you'll be evaluated on. So you're going to receive an email. Of course, there'll be an email explaining in detail what the assessment is, but basically I'm just going to verbalize it now. You're basically just taking one of these exercises again, the one we share with you with your credentials, performing it all the way through, and returning to us that cover page with the empty fields of material document, transfer requirement, transfer order, and inputting there the material document that you got from the transaction, the TR, the TO, and so on. So you're just proving that you were able to do this transaction all the way through on your own. The idea is to share this email with you on the 11th. So 8 o'clock in the morning, you'll receive the email with your particular exercise. This email will be addressed to you with that particular exercise, and they'll tell you, please complete this exercise by the end of the day. So you'll have the entire day to perform this exercise, which I think that if you practice throughout these 2 weeks of training plus the week that we have ahead of us, you should have absolutely no trouble to be able to finish an exercise in the entire day, right? From 8 to 5, let's say, on next Monday, May 11th. So it's that simple. Again, it's not a pass or fail exam. We're not evaluating the knowledge gained in a sense of, do you know what a fixed asset is? Can you explain it in 150 words? That's not the idea. The idea is, are you able to complete this transaction? We do understand that 2 weeks is very little time to be able to grasp all these concepts for people that are new to all this. Like, for example, and I'll just use Luis as an example. Luis is volunteering for this. It's the first time he's involved in all these transactions in Umoja. Learning about the business, learning about the transactions, understanding Umoja completely in 2 weeks is extremely difficult. So the idea of this training is to at least give you guys the tools to be able to perform the transactions when you're deployed, so that you can at least do that. And then when you're there, you're going to learn like you've never learned before. Trust me, for those of you who are new to this, you're going to learn everything that Claudio's and Nico's and Gianluca's have been expressing, and Joe's throughout these past 2 weeks. Things that first sounded like an alien language, now they're becoming more familiar. And once you're deployed, they will. So again, keep that in mind. The exercise, or the assessment, if you want to call it like that, is only to assess that you are able to complete the transaction. It's also going to be necessary for you to complete the transaction, as it was also that you attended the sessions, for you to receive a certification of, let's say, attendance, right, to this training. The fact that you're able to process this transaction or not, it's not going to affect us in terms of training. We're going to share the results with the people organizing this training on the Brindisi side, and they will see who has been able, who has not been able to perform these transactions. And really, the ball is in their hands at that point. All we're doing is evaluating your capability of performing this transaction on your own in a day. After you have practiced all through the week, we're going to be here all through the week. You can email us with any issues. I ask that you please send the exercise to the person that was in charge of delivering the demo that day, because they will usually have the answer to your troubleshooting issue faster. But nonetheless, if you email it to me, I'll make sure I put in copy the person that was involved there. Now, I know it was a long answer, Gianluca, but I think that I covered everything I wanted to say. Anything else on the assessment?
Can I just ask, this is Josefa, Is it possible, is there any possibility that the test could also be accessible out of working hours? Because to be frank, on a Monday is my heaviest day personally. And if I can do this out of hours, it would be, I'd be in a better position to do it. Is that a possibility?
Sure, I don't see why not. I was just thinking working hours, but of course we can extend it beyond the working hours as long as we submit it by that Monday. It should be fine. Are you able, Josefa? And this goes to everyone else. These are things that we may not have thought about. Yeah, I know that you're still doing your work as usual, and this is just an extra to your workload. So of course, what we can do to help you out, for sure.
That's exactly why I'm mentioning it, because if I can, you know, stop working and then concentrate on the test after work, then that would be easier for me.
Absolutely, I have no problem with that. We can extend the deadline to the to 12 a.m., let's say, on a Monday, if that is going to help everyone.
Yeah, for me that would be a big help. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Josefa, for expressing that. Joanna?
Yes, hi.
Hey, hello. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yes,
I mean,
we're
I'm not
all
seeing you,
speaking
but
to little icons all the time, so it's good to see a face.
yes, am I interrupting something? I heard people talking.
No, we were talking about the assessment. It just, you suddenly showed up, and that's I was thinking it was still questions on the assessment, and then I realized it was you. So no, you're not interrupting. This is your time to jump in. So if you want to take over, it's all yours.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank
Nice to be here. I see just little icons, but I know that, you know, many of you are there, and nice to be connected. And at the end, right, of this capacity building exercise that you had, and of which I have heard good things. I have heard lots of good comments and positive feedback. So I understand that it was a great success, you know. But you know, please do confirm that to me. But you know, congratulations so far, and many thanks to all of you who participated, who organized it. You know, and let me thank Brian in particular, indeed, for all the efforts, but also the team in Valencia, the team here in Brindisi, all the subject matter experts that you know have contributed. Let me thank Joe, and let me wish him again a happy birthday, because I'm not sure that I'm revealing a secret, but it's his birthday today. So many happy returns to you. And of course, you know, many thanks and congratulations to all the trainees. And without forgetting, obviously, Michael Dorn and as well as Lara, because, you know, they have been instrumental from the very beginning in this endeavor, you know, kind of launching the ideas, organizing it. So really many thanks and congratulations to all of you. You know, I'm very happy, you know, I'm very proud of what you are doing, because I think it's an excellent product out of the GSC. It's something that the clients need, the clients want. There will be more and more demand from the missions in terms of, you know, kind of assistance in liquidation downsizing. So I think that we really, you know, kind of thanks to your excellent initiative, we did something meaningful that is appreciated and will bring us far in what we are offering already to our clients. And let me tell you that this is also much appreciated from our colleagues in headquarters. So the leadership knows about that, you know, is very excited by that as well. They recognize the fact that it's extremely timely. So, you know, really, let me convey also the thanks from our colleagues in headquarters for the initiative that we have been taking. So far so good, colleagues. Excellent job, well done. I hear that, you know, you have expressed a high appreciation for the teaching and the learning you got with a score of 8.83, right, out of 10 in general, in terms of feedback you provided on the training, which is incredibly high. So I'm very happy about that. I'm very happy that you attended this session with so much enthusiasm and so much presence. You know, I understand that there was a group of 45 trainees, and 38 were, you know, participating to each and any session, you know, in average, which means that you participated to more sessions than the mandatory ones. So there must have been really a genuine interest. So I'm extremely, you know, proud and happy to see that. I understand that there was, a module that was particularly appreciated, which was the property management business intelligence. So, and it's something on which definitely we attach a great importance. So, very, very well done. Now, this is the first round, and I'm very happy of what we achieved so far. Of course, we will continue. As you know, there will be follow-up training sessions offered weekly for 2 hours, and there will be a repetition of the full training program in the fourth quarter of this year. But of course, we count on you, to move forward and to bring this to the next level, and to see how we can then move on, and offer this service completely to the clients who need it. I am particularly, excited by one of the features of the course, which is also the possibility of offering our service remotely, because as you know, for the immediate future, there will not be a possibility of traveling very easily. So although, as you well know, the services are meant to be, brought to the missions, but they can also be offered remotely. I'm counting on you to make this offer, immediate and functional, as we can really show that we are getting well equipped also to function in a new reality in which there will be much more, remote support, at least for the foreseeable future than before. So it really shows that we are ahead of the curve in the GSC in making these services available and, kind of responding to the needs also in these difficult conditions. So I don't want to take more time. I'd love to hear any comment or any, kind of observation that you might want to share. And once again, thank you so much. And, looking forward to kind of getting to know more about this and moving on. Thanks again. Over to you, Brian.
Thank you, Giovanna. Thank you very much. Very kind words. We all thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And what I wanted to start saying is also thank you to the other trainers that are here with me, Daniel Criado, Elena Carrasco, Saida Sagir, Maria Soledad, who's not here right now in this afternoon session, but she's been here, Cyril Momo, of course. Without them, this would have been impossible. It took us a month to prepare and really work hard, afternoons, weekends, to make sure that this really was able to happen. But honestly, the success of this, it comes down to these students that have joined us for the 2 weeks, to be honest with you. They have worked on weekends as well, in the afternoons, on the holidays, just to make sure they were showing us their interest, like you were saying at the beginning. Their efforts have been really insane throughout these 2 weeks. We wish them the best. We're here to support and help them. We're not done yet. The assessment is on Monday. We were just talking about that. The rest of the week will be for them to practice. And we're not letting go of them right after this training either. No, we'll still be able to provide support at some point. We're very busy as well ourselves, but we want to make sure that this project is a success. So thank you very much, and I'm glad it was the same in your eyes too.
No, thank you, really. I mean, I'm sure that everybody will do very well for the assessment on Monday. So once again, I wish you all the best, and we'll be in touch and we'll follow up on this critical initiative. And thanks for your kind of involvement, your presence, and all the good energy and enthusiasm that you put in this. Thanks a lot to everybody. Stay well, and we'll stay in touch. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Giovanna. Okay, we're all back. So thanks for those very kind words from Giovanna, and thank you guys in the chat also. I wasn't sure if you guys wanted to intervene or not. We left some time there, but nobody jumped in, so I thought maybe not. And okay,
Brian,
so where did we leave off?
Yes,
hey, Cyril.
Yes, I just want to thank you and also thank all the participants. I think that was a great leadership, you show here. It was not easy when the training idea was first brought up by Anton, Michael, and Lara. of course, Joe. We didn't really know how we should tackle it. So I think we needed to strategize, design the matrix curriculum, to bring something that could be meaningful and helpful for the team. And then you are being instrumental doing that. So of course, with Saul, as you said, Daniel, Saida, Elena, Carrasco, really good thanks. I want to express and convey also the management's, gratitude, from New York. They couldn't participate, Reza, on his behalf, to say thank you, and also be saying to all the learners that he hope you had a very fruitful and positive time. And, we hope to have you, implementing it and help the mission for the benefit of the entire organization. Yeah.
Brian?
Yes.
Hi, this is Gianluca. I think everybody realized that today Joe is off because it's not only his birthday, but he's turning 60. So I think,
Wow.
yeah, he has to take, some time with the family on this particular day. But I guess everybody would. I don't want to speak on behalf of everybody, but I guess they will all agree with what I'm going to say. First of all, thank you for your great job, dedication, and it was not an easy exercise because this is an end-to-end process which clarified doubts on somebody who had some issues in understanding the process. You have displayed all the three mainstream exercise processes, inventory management, warehouse, and property management at your best. And personally, I've learned a lot. Definitely, I'm not gonna be ready by tomorrow to be an expert to know where to click, but at least I think I understood the process, who does what and where, which roles, and etc. I think this was the aim of the exercise, not to be lost if you are deployed tomorrow and asked to support the mission in a particular role. At least whomever who joined this class will be able to figure it out as soon as is facing an issue, and or at least how to document himself and find a proper answer and to take it from there. So again, thank you very much. Well, what can I say? I hope in the future, I don't know, we don't know how the future evolves, but if this is a way to train people, I think it proved to be successful. I've never been trained in class in regarding to Umoja myself, but I found this very beneficial. So again, thank you very much, all of you, Elena, Daniel, Brian, Saul, and Cyril, everyone. I hope I don't forget anyone. And thanks to the students as well, and which was very often was a very good interaction, and I think we all benefited from our life experience, working life experience, and experts on the system as well. Thank you again.
Thanks, Gianluca. Very, very kind words. Happy birthday to Joe. I see everyone was saying it in the chat too. 60 is definitely a big number and worth to stay with the family and enjoy time with them. Thanks for your kind words again. You have never been to a training in person with us. That is unbelievable, and that I'm taking note of that. So you're in the next training, no matter what it is. Besides that, honestly, the element of being in person for trainings like this, besides the fact that we would be together for more time in a row, is the practical side, right? You're able to perform the exercises there with us. And a lot of the times here, and I think Elena Carrasco was mentioning that last week, you encounter an issue, you send an email, and then we reply to you the day after or hours after. That's some things that don't happen in person. Of course, this was all very new for all of us. It's true that for it being the first time, hey, after all, it wasn't bad, right? And I think that is due to you guys too. We always have to say that the success of a training depends on its students. And from day one, we had a very good vibe about the group that was here put together. We know that you all volunteered for this. It's not like somebody was pointing a gun at you. You all wanted to do this, and that's why you're in this training. And I think that's why the vibe is so positive and good. And we're glad that we were able to maintain that throughout the 2 weeks. It was long. I know we're all stuck at home with our families, babies crying in the background. It's been definitely something worth studying in a social experiment as well. But it's been fun. Okay, it's been a lot of fun. Let's not lose the focus on the evaluation of the session. I'm also going to share with you guys an evaluation link for the entire training. Okay, this last one I'm going to share with you is the entire thing, day by day, if it was outstanding, just average, not good enough, but this is the entire final survey evaluation that we usually share at the end of every training. We're not saying goodbye, we're just closing the training period. We're going to keep in touch. I'm going to send an email also on the final assessment when we gather all that data. And keep in touch. You're still doing the exercises. Today is only Monday. Reach out if you have any issues, and we'll be able to provide support. If there's anything else from your side, I will share the link of the assessment now as well, right now in the chat. But besides that, I may send an official email with this link as well. So if you already filled it out, fine, directly from the chat. If not, you can do it when you receive it from the email. But I want you to understand the difference. The one Daniel sent is for this afternoon session. The one I'm sending now is the final survey for the entire training. Okay, I leave the floor for you guys if you guys want to say anything else.
Well, which is the T code for people that reach 60s?
That they haven't invented that one, I don't think.
No, COVID-19.
MM60. MB60.
Oh, wow, it is. It actually exists. MM60. All right, everyone. So I just shared the link. I know this is a bit informal in the chat, but since we are here and we are accessing the chat and we're getting a lot of our documents from here as well, maybe you can start filling in this. I know this is time of training, and I know some of you have work to do. So if you can do it now, fine. If not, I'm going to send an email at the end of this session with this link as well. Okay, but this is the link for the final survey of the training. And really, there's nothing else for me to say that I haven't said already. It's been a pleasure having Giovanna speak to us. I'm glad that she's happy. Thank you, Nikos, Nicola, Gianluca, Senior, Junior, Pietro, and Angelo, Lara, Lucia, everyone who has jumped in to provide support, to help us out when we found an issue in the system, to quickly be there to show us love and support. You guys are always the best. We miss you. Hopefully we can see each other soon and in person, whether it's in Valencia or in Brindisi.